You're listening to the Doctor Is In podcast, brought to you by MartinClinic.com. During the episode, the doctors share a lot of information. As awesome as the info may be, it is not intended to diagnose, cure, treat, or prevent any disease. It's strictly for informational purposes.
Well, good morning, everyone. Hope you're all doing well and still thriving. Check engine light. We're going to talk about insulin this morning. I'm always talking about insulin, but that's what I do. Food. Before I get into check the engine light, some of the symptoms, and some of them are very surprising in terms of insulin and insulin resistance. And we always talk about the importance of keeping your insulin down. Okay, somebody coined it on our show, save your pancreas, save your life. And actually I incorporated that in my book. So first draft of my new book, hopefully out in September, maybe a little bit before that. The first draft is done as of yesterday. So, now it's got to be cleaned up and getting ready to publish. So anyway, big part of that book is insulin and talking about it. Now, I just want to mention this because this was in the headlines. Rosie actually showed it to me this morning. A headline on CBS News. Canadians are poisoning themselves during this COVID. Headlines. I'll actually post it afterwards on our Martin Clinic Facebook group, okay? The private group in there. I'll post the headline. Canadians are poisoning themselves. And, they're over cleaning. Now, we talked about this, so I'm not going to go into a lot of detail. But whatever you do, folks, don't over clean. I know part of the edict that went out to all of us is wash your hands frequently, okay? But what people are doing, never mind washing your hands, is that they're scrubbing and they're bleaching their homes for this virus, okay? And you guys know me. I've always gone, I'm not telling you not to clean, of course. I'm not telling you not to wash your hands, of course. But what I have been saying consistently is take care of your immune system. Be responsible for you and your family, your immune system. Because at the end of the day, and I've said it 1,000 times, and I'll say it probably another 1,000 times, it's not the virus. It's not. The virus is not the big thing because, guys, 100% guaranteed there's going to be COVID-20. There'll be, maybe COVID-19 comes back in the fall, right? Like our whole emphasis on flattening the curve. As Tony Jr. has said, it was never a curve, it was a pancake. But that's not the point. The point is keep your immune system. This is why we talked yesterday about the invisible shield, vitamin A. It is essential for your immune system. And vitamin D in that, okay? But let me just emphasize on the cleaning. Don't over clean. Because one of the things that helps to keep bad things away are the good things. You got good bacteria. You have it in your home. You have it on your skin. And don't over clean. And the worst thing you can do is over clean with chemicals for two reasons. One, you're stripping away all the good guys. I know you kill the bad guys. 99.9% of all germs. You might think that's good. That's not good. That's overkill. Because what you're doing is like an antibiotic. It kills all the good guys too. And now it's well established that something that was meant to save our lives, antibiotics, and they're wonderful things, the greatest discovery in medicine is antibiotics. There's no doubt in my mind. The greatest discovery ever. The problem is a double-edged sword because it kills all good bacteria too. It doesn't differentiate. and neither do chemicals. They don't differentiate. They just strip away. So one of the reasons that I say that, one of them, is it strips away all the good with the bad. Now that sets your body up. It sets your home up for bugs that are resistant. You got to understand something. Bugs, viruses, bacteria, they mutate. And, I was saying, a couple of weeks ago, the most dangerous place you can go to is a hospital. Now, I'm not telling you not to go if you need to go. I'm just telling you facts that the hospital, why? Well, number one, they overuse antibiotics. And I understand why they do it. I mean, come on. You go in with an infection or whatever, even if it's viral. They got the drip coming down of antibiotics. The problem with that is it sets up. We live we're supposed to live at least in a balance. That's why it's good. Get outside. Play in the garden. Let your kids get dirty. It's actually good for them because we're surrounded by bacteria. And the more we surround ourselves with good bacteria and even bad bacteria, the more your immune system works. And this over cleaning, one, because of that, what we call dysbiosis, it sets up an imbalance. You only got, you got not enough good guys. And then secondly, the chemicals, well, they're saying on CBS that it's poisoning Canadians. I guess the amount of calls going into the poison centers in Canada have gone up. That's why it made the news. But guys, I'm not even talking about poisoning you. I'm talking about what it does to your body. Remember, every time you use a chemical, your body, ladies especially you, thinks that chemical is estrogen. If you can't pronounce it, from bleach to household cleaners to household fresheners to all the scents that are not natural, Febreze, psst, your body thinks that's estrogen. And what have I been saying? We'll talk about one of them today, but the other one, estrogen is a growth hormone. And ladies, your body loves estrogen. And these are xenoestrogens. So use natural cleaners. Like in our home, we use vinegar. Like I think it's 12% cleaning vinegar, it's called. Okay? You can pour it down your drains. It helps with a little bit of baking soda, dissolves stains and dissolves all the gunk that are in your drains. It cleans your floors and it doesn't strip away all your good bacteria. Oil of oregano. I have an oil of oregano spray. I use it all the time. I can brush your teeth with it. It's safe. It doesn't kill the good guys. It only goes after bad guys. And it does not reproduce xenoestrogens. Your body, ladies, look, men too, because if a man gets prostate cancer, which is 1 out of 4 after the age of 50, the reason they get it is their testosterone goes down, and now they're becoming more womanly than their wives. And the prostate loves estrogen, and it grows. It grows. Same with you, ladies. Your breast tissue, especially. Breast tissue have receptors for estrogen. They have receptors for it. That's what makes you a woman. You'll never get away from estrogen, and you don't want to. Not completely, but these dangerous xenoestrogens, all the plastics and anything that, chemistry is wonderful, isn't it? Since World War II, 100,000 chemicals have been created. Over 100,000. DuPont and Johnson & Johnson and you name the companies. They make these chemicals. And a lot of it is convenient. The problem is twofold. They strip away your good bacteria. in cleaning products and air fresheners and whatever. And two, they look like estrogen for your body. Your body sees them as estrogen. And that can be a very dangerous thing. This is why, Dr. Martin, I never talk about, ladies, you need more estrogen. I'd never seen it. I understand. Like if you go back 50 years ago, right? Read my hormone books 50 years ago. Well, if you're in menopause, it'll tell you 50 years ago. Well, you're lower in estrogen, ladies. You need estrogen. So they give you horse's urine with estrogen in it, right? That's horse's urine. That's how they make it. You're not a horse, ladies. A horse is 10 times bigger than you. So the horse's urine, yeah, it has estrogen. The problem is, you don't need that estrogen. You already got lots of estrogen. You need balance. You need balance between estrogen and progesterone. So all I'm saying is, be careful with the chemicals. It's something that you can change in your home. I know the virus. I get it. I understand. They scared the living life out of us with this virus. Clean, 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 clean. And the problem is a lot of people are using these hand sanitizers. And, I get it. I understand why. But again, these chemical, alcohol-based or whatever, they're stripping away all your good bacteria. That's not good for you. Soap and water. Old-fashioned soap and water. Hot water. That's the best way to do it, to clean your hands. Okay, so I just wanted to go over that because it was in the headlines this morning. And you need to be careful. Okay, so let's talk, and this might be two parts, I don't know. I want to talk about insulin resistance this morning again for the millionth time. Now remember, just going to refresh your brain. Why do we talk about insulin so much? It's a death hormone. It's your enemy. In this day and age, and this is why you have to understand where I come from. I have a whole chapter in my new book on fructose. And, Dr. Martin, like fruits, they're good for you. Yeah, I know, but we live in a different world today, you and I. We live in a different world. I use this history. I go over it in my book. Because one of the things that I have studied when I was doing my PhD, so you got to go way back. When I was finishing up my PhD in the 1990s, one of the things that we had to do, one of the courses that we took is the history of food. Always interesting. And I actually have a chapter in my book about the history, and I talk about 6 things they've changed, okay? The food industry, okay? So the food industry started in the late 1800s. What did they do? They made the first fast food. It's fascinating when you think about it. The first fast food was made in the 1800s, late 1800s, around 1880, 1890. You know what happened? They changed our bread, and they made bread into a fast food. What do I mean by that? Well, they used to stone ground bread. They used a big stone, and they'd hammer that wheat, and the oil that was produced was full of protein, full of vitamins, especially the B vitamins and antioxidants and amino acids. And it was low-carb bread up till about 1890. And then you know what happened? They changed it. They made flour with rollers, porcelain and steel rollers. Why? Well, they wanted to make it faster. But what did that do? It changed the wheat. Now the oil was lost and the nutrition was lost. It became a fast food. And the bread, the flour was all carbs, all starch, very little protein, no B vitamins, no antioxidants. It was all stripped away. And I remember reading this would go back, for me, 25, 30 years ago. When I first, listen, in 1974, I'd taken up to over 2,000 hours of nutrition. But to get my PhD, I had to write a thesis. I had to study. And I've never stopped studying, but I always found it interesting when you looked at the history of food and you go, they changed, right? So one of my chapters, I talk about all the changes that the food industry did. In 1910, they changed the fat. And it wasn't really, didn't really evolve because they got away from, baking and whatever with butter and lard, and they got away from that. And they used Crisco. Anybody remember that? Crisco, right? That changed the fat. And what a disaster that has been. Bread has been a disaster, right? The Bible says man shall not live by bread alone. I love bread, by the way. I could live on it. You give me bread and peanut butter, and Dr. Martin's a happy puppy. But so when they changed the bread, and then they changed the fat because, and I go into some detail in the book, but I talk about a guy named Ancel Keys. Ancel Keys was a serial killer. He had no idea how much influence he had on nutrition. And what did he do? He said, well, fat makes you fat. And fat, animal fat, gives you cholesterol. And cholesterol is at the root of heart disease. He started it in the 1950s. He started that lie. Before that, people didn't. Cholesterol? What are you talking about? Cholesterol, your body's made up of cholesterol. You only get 15% from your diet. 85% comes out of your liver. Why? Because you can't make a hormone. I mean, listen, you just have to go back and read my medical books on hormones. And if without cholesterol, you can't even make a hormone. It's your master hormone, cholesterol. And you know me, I always talk about that. It was a scam. He was a scientist. It wasn't that he wasn't honest. It was his theory. But you combine that with the food industry and the big pharma industry, they took Ancel Keys and, can I get political just for a second? It's my show, so I'm going to get political, okay? No, they hot mic'd. You know what a hot mic is? Somebody is being recorded when they didn't know they were being recorded, right? We have to be careful. Well, why do we have to be careful today? Okay, because there's probably drones going around watching us. So our civil liberties. Anyway, it doesn't matter. No, all I'm saying is one of the Canadian politicians was hot mic'd. And she was talking about climate change. You know what she got hot mic'd on? You can Google this if you want. She said if you say a lie long enough and just keep repeating it, people will believe it. Quoting. Google it yourself. I think she was the environmental minister. Anyway, I don't want to get into climate change, but I do want to talk to you about a lie that came out of the 1950s. It started there, but it was never hooked on till the late 1950s, and then it started with the cereal companies. People like Kellogg's and Post cereals. And what did they say? Frosted Flakes are great. I remember as a kid, Tony the Tiger. I'm Tony. And a lot of my classmates called me Tony the Tiger because of Frosted Flakes are great. You remember that? Well, guys, they're not great. They were never great. Cheerios was never great. I know they have a heart on the box, but if you eat that stuff, you're going to have a heart attack. That's what it means. The Heart Association, in conjunction with the cereal companies, started a lie. It wasn't true. Don't eat bacon and eggs. That's full of cholesterol. Brought to you by Ancel Keys. Well established, guys, when you look at the history. And then in the 1970s and early 1980s, the pharmaceutical companies got involved, especially the makers of Lipitor. And it became the #1 selling drug of all time. And it was based on a faulty thesis. And that is, heart disease is caused by what? Cholesterol. And they did everything they could with medication, starting with Lipitor and then Crestor and then Zocor and other statin drugs to lower your cholesterol. And you know what, guys? Can I be honest with you? It never even made a dent in heart disease. Not even a dent. As a matter of fact, the only dent that was ever made in heart disease was in the late 70s and early 80s. There was a dent. Now it's gone right back up again. You know when the dent was? When people stopped smoking. Not when they started taking cholesterol medication. I remember doctors in the 70s, what? Why do I want to lower your cholesterol? But today, hook, line, and sinker. Am I right? Yep. Hook, line, and sinker. I said this in my book, and I'm just going to throw it out there to you. If you went door to door in your hometown, go door to door, do a survey of 100 doors, ask the adults, maybe even some of the kids, but ask the adults, what is the cause of heart disease? And I guarantee you, 99 out of 100 homes will say it's cholesterol. My generation especially, hook, line, and sinker, it's cholesterol. That's at the root of heart disease. Well, you know me, blaming cholesterol for heart disease is like blaming the police when they're at the crime scene. Cholesterol is not the bad guy. Of course you're going to find cholesterol in your blood vessels. Guys, what is one of the greatest, the frontline workers? God bless them. But the best frontline workers, in my opinion, are not in the hospitals. They're the truck drivers. Keep our food supply. Keep our medical supply. Driving. I always admired those guys and women. Tough. I mean, I like driving, but I wouldn't want to drive for a living. Anyway, guys, cholesterol are the truck drivers in your blood vessels. All they're doing is carrying your hormones, and they're hitching up your bad fat triglycerides. Liar, liar, pants on fire. That's what this industry, the food industry, the two of the biggest industries in the world, two of the biggest. The food industry, owned by about 9 or 10 companies, that's it. I actually have a graph if you want. I'm thinking about putting it in my book. From PepsiCo to Coca-Cola to Kraft to General Foods, and there's a few others. They own everything. They buy up everybody. So they can have a conglomerate, the dominance in the food industry. Go to the grocery stores and go up your aisles of your grocery stores. The vast majority of food there, 99% of the food that's in the middle aisles of your grocery stores is nothing but crap. Low in fat, high in omega-6, made by vegetable oils, and crappy carbohydrates. You want to know why we're so sick today? Look at the food industry. I'm not saying they have bad intentions. I'm not saying that. I'm sure there's some good people working in the food industry. I know there is. But they took advantage of a lie that was never true. It's not true today. It wasn't true then. It never will be true. And that is cholesterol is at the root of heart disease. It is not. And, as Dr. Martin, you know me, I'm going to preach it every day. The problem with heart disease is not cholesterol. It's insulin. It's insulin. It's insulin. And when your insulin is high, you create inflammation. And inflammation, remember, it's not Houdini. Inflammation caused by high insulin, which is caused by crappy carbs and sugar. The new smoking is sugar. Coming back to fruit, this is why you'll hear it from me. A lot of people come after me, okay, on the Facebook. And I get it. I understand. I love the feedback. I do. And a lot of people, Doc, I don't understand why you talk about the negativity of fruit. because we live in a different world, and don't fool yourself. In order to take care of yourself, I'm not saying don't eat any fruit. I'm saying don't eat much fruit. And it's certainly better to eat fruit than it is to eat a chocolate bar. I get that. I understand that. And it's certainly better to eat fruit than to drink fruit. I'm not big on drinking fruit. Don't drink it, as I talked about yesterday. So, because insulin is your enemy. Insulin is at the root of heart disease, cancer. I read a study yesterday, by the way, on cancer. I'll just tell you this, and maybe I'll post it. 2% of cancers are genetics. I used to say 5%, but this new study is saying 2% are genetics. 98% is you and what you put in your mouth every day. It's food. And insulin is a food hormone. And insulin is a growth hormone. Okay? It's a growth hormone. And if you got something bad growing in your body, don't feed it insulin, because insulin will make it proliferate and grow. This is why I've always said, and I get called the quack and everything like that, because if you look at medicine today, okay, and I don't like to lump everybody in the same boat, but in generalities, you must admit that medicine today, we've seen it with this COVID. We've seen how medicine works. I get it. I understand it. It's their training. All they can think of is 1, let's find a vaccine for this virus. 2, clean the stuffing out of your home. 3, wash your hands frequently. 4, don't touch your face. 5, practice social distancing. And they used to say, don't go outside. I'm telling you, stay the home. Isn't that true what they were saying? Until people started screaming, are you kidding me? The best thing you can do is go outside. Did I not say that 2 months ago? 3 months ago, when they even first started talking about it? I said, you need vitamin D, you need the sun. Okay, anyway. But that's medicine. That's how they operate. I get it. It's their training. It seems they can't even think beyond. They don't even talk to you about building your immune system. They don't talk to you about that. They only talk to you about the virus. Ooh, the virus. And they scared the life out of us. And by the way, number 7, I think, wear a mask. Did anybody, probably a couple of guys out there said, well, your invisible mask is vitamin A, which we talked about yesterday. Better to take care of yourself. I'm not saying don't practice the other things. You didn't hear me say that. So don't take me out of context. I didn't say not to wash your hands. I told you don't overdo it. Practice those things, but do the other things. And get the outside. But you see where we've ended up, guys? We live in a world today that even with this COVID, they're not talking about food. They should be talking about food. Because if you have, and this has been proven, by the way, this is not coming from me, even though I said it several months ago. Your immune system, even your immune system, is controlled by what you eat. You've heard zinc. People are asking me, how much zinc do I need to take? Well, eat it. Have a steak 2 or 3 or 4 times a week. Have roast beef. Have hamburger. There's zinc in there. There's even some zinc in chicken, ladies. Not much. There's some zinc in chicken, okay? Because I always laugh. You know how I love teasing you ladies, right? About, your chicken and salad. Chicken and salad. Anyway. But guys, look, the biggest thing, I put it, elephant in the room. Even with COVID, people that got really sick are people that have trouble with their insulin. And tomorrow, not today, I thought we were going to do it today because I got sidetracked. We're going to talk about some of the hidden signs so that you know to check the engine. We'll talk about that tomorrow. I promise. Lord willing. I always say that because you know what? We always should say Lord willing because, guys, whatever I could have never, ever predicted the predicament that the world is in right now. I would have never predicted that. How things went upside down and every decision. If you would have said there'll be no school, well, in Ontario, probably not till September. There'll be no stores open other than the grocery stores. That there'll be no medical clinics open. You can't walk in there. I mean, you can go to emergency, but, most doctors' offices are closed. I would have never believed it if you told me that. I wouldn't have believed it. If I would have said, that's George Orwell, 1984. I would have never thought this. I still can't get over it. Anyway, but guys, so tomorrow, promise, Lord willing, that we will talk about insulin. And we talked about it being your enemy, but tomorrow I will give you some signs that you might never have thought of that would tell you that your insulin is not right. You have what we call insulin resistance. And I'll explain that tomorrow. Okay, so love you guys. Share this, okay? Share this with your friends. It really helps get the message out, okay? To you and to individuals, your friends, family, or whatever, okay? Anyways, love you guys. And if you're not a member of the Martin Clinic Facebook group, okay? I asked a lady yesterday in North Bay, dear lady, I said, do you have Facebook? Some people don't have it. Listen, I'm a dinosaur, so I'd be the last guy to have it if I didn't need it to do these programs. I wouldn't even know how to get on Facebook, but you guys do. So share this with your friends. Love you. Talk to you soon.
You've reached the end of another Dr. Is In podcast with your hosts, Dr. Martin Jr. and Sr. Be sure to catch our next episode, and thanks for listening.